To anyone who has never had a girlfriend, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry, and I'm not just saying that for this video, I'm saying it because I fully understand where you're coming from, and I think I'm a lot like you, so let me explain. I remember all the way back to early school, like literally elementary school, I would see girls around the school, and that's the first time I ever had a crush on anyone. It was that early on, and weirdly enough, you would see, I guess, couples or relationships or your friends getting girlfriends, and obviously it was playful, especially looking back. It wasn't anything serious. We were too young to understand anything that was going on at that time. At that time, I didn't really care about any of that stuff seriously. It was never serious to me. All I really cared about was playing games. I would get home from school, play Minecraft, Fortnite, whatever it was, whatever my favorite game was at the time. I would be thinking about that all day at school, but there were some thoughts about these girls and these couples, I guess. I guess it was just something dwelling in the back of my head, but never anything that really came to be. You know what I mean? And if you're anything like me, you were fine with that, because I know that I was, even though there was a slight urge to maybe even talk to girls. But as soon as middle school started, even though we were still very young, it felt so much different. It felt like you had to have a girlfriend. You had to be in your first relationship, and if you didn't have any of these things, that you were different or weird. And that's truly how I felt. I honestly thought, especially early on into middle school, that I would never have a girlfriend, because I remember talking to girls, but I never got the same attention that other guys had gotten, especially at that time. It was something where you would say something and I guess you would be friendly, but it would just get to a point where it's just too friendly, and that's all it was. That's all it ever came to. And I remember specifically I had crushes on certain girls, like, you know how you have maybe that one class where there's somebody that you kind of like, you like talking to them, and in the back of your head you consider making a move, and I guess that was the case for me, but I guess I didn't believe in myself enough, so it would never happen. So I pushed this whole dating / girlfriend thing to the side, and I really just focused on the other things that I enjoyed, which was, I guess, playing sports, maybe going to the gym a little bit, even though I was really young, and just playing games, because playing games was true fun. It was something where you could basically forget about anything that's going on around you aside from that. You hop on the game with your friends, talk to them, you even make jokes about girls. Even some of my friends who were playing these games with me had girlfriends, but it didn't feel the same, because whenever we were playing these games, I completely forgot. Even when it would get brought up in these party chats, it wouldn't matter, because that's all I really cared about, was having fun. It was never something so serious, even though there was some pressure now that I was in middle school. But after the first year went by in middle school, it became very different. It seemed that pretty much everybody that I knew had gotten a girlfriend at some point, or had gotten into some sort of relationship. We're talking like 7th grade here. I'm still like, maybe 13, I can't even remember, but all of my friends are starting to do these crazy things, and even some of them have like lost their V cards, which is crazy. It makes no sense. I didn't even care about that at all, but I still felt even more pressure than last year, definitely more than I had the year previous, because it seemed like everybody at this point was ahead of me. I felt like I was getting left behind, and maybe something was wrong with me, and I didn't know what it was. But once again, I didn't really think about it too much. I would push it to the side. I would push all those cares and worries away, and I would do what I cared about, like I said. And for me at this time, I enjoyed other things, like maybe I was playing guitar. I still played video games a lot. I wouldn't even consider myself a gamer or anything like that, but that was just my hobby, mostly because you could get on these games and just talk to your friends. And it just went back to that. But now there was a sense of, I guess, urgency, where it feels like, okay, now, like, when is this going to happen? Like, when is it my turn? Is this ever going to happen for me? And then you continue. You pass years by. At this point, it's late middle school, and you're starting to feel worried. But this time, it's not a worry of, you know, maybe it's something I want to do, but I'm not sure. This is something where you actually feel like you need to do it. You feel like you're missing out on things. You hear people talking about it all the time. It's one of the main topics. All the drama that's going on at your school, all of the talks around the school are about this thing. About getting into relationships and about the things that they're doing, watching movies, whatever the case may have been. And you start to feel really left out. Like, so left out that you just feel like there's no hope. And I remember specifically getting into freshman year of high school. I had this one girl that I liked, and I thought, now is my time. It's time to actually make a move and maybe experience what everybody else around me has. And I continued through that year just trying, maybe talking to some girls every once in a while, but I was so nervous to do anything or say anything or make any moves in general. I thought it was actually impossible. So once again, I do this whole thing where I was pushing it to the side and basically trying to forget about it. I would tell my friends when they asked me. I remember sitting at these lunch tables and they would actually make fun of me for it. And I wouldn't say it was bullying. I wouldn't call it that. I would say they would just kind of poke fun at me like, hey, when are you going to do this? Making weird jokes about like, I don't like girls, whatever the case may have been. That didn't get to me that much, but it became a thing that I was almost known for. Like there was some group of kids who just hadn't gotten a girlfriend. And a lot of these guys would look at it as if you're not trying, and maybe you weren't trying, or maybe I wasn't, I don't know. But in my head, I felt like I was. At least that's the way it seemed to me. And this all led up to one point where I actually built up the courage to talk to a girl. Yes, me, the guy who had never tried that in my entire life. It was one of the scariest moments ever. Like, one of the scariest things I've ever done, even to this day. At least at the time in my head, that's how it felt. And I was planning this whole thing. I was talking to my friends about it. I was telling everybody that I'm going to do this. And I was finally going to break this, I guess you could call it a curse of just never having a girlfriend or whatever the case may have been. And I go and I call her and I try to make this move. And then I get rejected. Completely rejected. And this led me on a downward path where I just completely gave up. That was it. That was my one try. That was it. I'm done. I guess this just isn't for me. And I honestly stopped thinking about it. Everything cleared up. I honestly felt kind of relieved that I at least tried to make that move. And I kind of just forgot about it completely. I gave up. I decided this isn't for me. Maybe it'll just happen when it needs to happen. But that time never really seemed to come. And I think a lot of you might understand that. If you have never had a girlfriend too, you're probably just waiting. You probably are sitting there thinking that it's going to happen, but you just don't know when. And maybe there's a sliver of you that thinks that it might never happen. And that's how I felt until the next year. The school year started, and instantly I decided I wasn't going to make the same mistake. The mistakes I made in the past was that I waited too long. I was too nervous. I was too shy. It didn't work. So I asked this girl out on one of the early days of school, and it worked. It actually worked. I actually got my first girlfriend. Now, I talk about these stories more and how that kind of went wrong, but here's the lesson that I want to teach you. What I want you to understand is that when I got this girlfriend, I thought that everything would change, and maybe a lot of it did because I was able to experience the things that I never thought were going to happen. But something was not fulfilled. Something was wrong. And what I realized is that I wasn't ready. I wasn't actually ready. And you may be thinking in your head that you don't care about anything. You just blow everything to the side. Maybe you've been waiting your entire life, so you feel like this is the exact time. Any time is the right time for you. It doesn't not matter when, any circumstance. You are just going to take whatever you can get at this point. But what you don't understand is that's a really dangerous path to be. I think that when you become desperate, you actually lose a sense of yourself. And that's exactly what happened to me. When I got this girlfriend that I've been waiting for my entire life, she was perfect. But I had a lot of mistakes, and I did a lot of things wrong, and I mentally couldn't handle it. And I think that I was taking for granted so many of the things that I had that were good in my life. One of those things being peace. And nothing against her. I think this was my fault. But when I had my first girlfriend, there was very little peace because I was always nervous of doing something wrong or doing something that I couldn't take back or saying something wrong. And that's something that you don't think about. See, when you develop as a person and you genuinely try to improve yourself, whether it's your looks, making more money, it doesn't matter what it is, that is something that you cannot take for granted. Because when you have somebody in your life who you have a extreme time commitment to, like a girlfriend, that's something that is life altering. The trajectory that you are on, the path that you are chasing, maybe you want to be successful, that might actually change simply by getting a girlfriend. And you need to understand that the ability to have complete mental clarity and not have to worry and not have to be stressed and not have to deal with all the things that come with it. Yes, it might suck right now, but the longer you wait, the more you develop as a person, and the more that you continue trying to improve yourself, the better it's going to turn out. And all you need to understand is that the time will come. I can promise you that the time will come, and you're not going to know when it's going to happen. It's probably going to be out of nowhere, and when it does, I'm glad you saw this video. What I want you to do is imagine that you have a girlfriend right now. Imagine all of the good things that will come with it, but also imagine all the bad things. Once you understand this, you'll know what you're taking for granted, and the number one thing is your peace. I'm telling you right now that once you get a girlfriend, it will disturb your peace, and that is something that you might miss at some point. But I still wish the best for you, and I think you're going to be prepared after seeing this video. I mean, after all, if you found my account, you obviously care about improving yourself and becoming the best version of yourself. So hopefully this video helped. If you like this video, I highly recommend watching this one right here.